The increasing pressure for U.S. action follows the capture today of Tal Afar in northern Iraq. Tal Afar is on a highway linking Mosul, captured last week, to Syria. These are the areas ISIS holds so far. Their goal is to form an Islamist state ruled by Sharia law in parts of Iraq and Syria. And they are just miles from
is about the threat from this ISIS group beyond just that region, reaching into the rest of the world. For example, the ISIS militant on the tape speaks with what sounds like a British accent. You're about to hear some of that audio in order to hear him. The fear in the intelligence community is how many ISIS fighters are Western citizens with Western passports. Our chief foreign correspondent, Richard Engel, is live tonight on the Turkey-Syria border. Richard, good evening.
Good evening, Brian. ISIS is no longer some fringe terrorist group operating in the shadows. It controls territory, a lot of it. The group actually now prefers to be called the Islamic State, and in some ways it is like a state, just a terrible one.
It's rather ironic that this latest wave of Western armed and financed Islamic militants invading Iraq and now conveniently threatening Syria and Iran is named ISIS. Or is it deliberate? It's being used to stand for this oddly Anglicist fabricated Islamic State in Iraq and Syria, full-on barbaric movement presently sweeping Iraq, but anyone acquainted with any degree of occult knowledge or esoteric mythology know the goddess Isis is one of the most important figures in the so-called mystery schools and a favorite of Freemasonry and the Illuminati. While the U.S. is currently once again self-appointedly deciding whether to go into all-out overt war on this entire region from Lebanon to Iran based on this unforeseen phenomena, this parasitic plan goes on full throttle, ripping the guts out of millions of innocent people's lives for the Machiavellian desires of a few. All while they hoodwink the masses into a completely backwards interpretation of their devious sorcery. These elite few are fueled by something besides their psychopathy. It's an occult allegiance to powerful symbolic entities, whether they are all fully conscious of their allegiances to these powers or not. Such is the case of most of manipulated humanity. It's important to know that almost every portrayal of a feminine goddess, a specialty of Freemasonic art, literature and architecture, hails back to ISIS, no matter whether it's called the Statue of Liberty, Blind Justice, Mother Mary, Columbia or some other Queen of Heaven or whatever label they want to give her. They're almost all the same entity. ISIS in turn goes back to Sumer and the goddess Semiramis, or Ishtar, an embodiment of the same esoteric deity. She was and still is considered the goddess of enchantment and magic. Married to her brother Osiris, the two of whom then gave birth to the infamous Horus, all major characters in the play, she wandered looking for the dismembered penis of her former husband, wailing and moaning like the wind. Hence the world-crowned capitals of Washington, D.C., the City of London and the Vatican all boasting phallic obelisks in this memory, as well as many other major financial and political energy centers. The true worldly powers that be are beholden to other powers that be that are not so worldly. This may need more research and validation on your part, but for me and many other researchers it is very evident. When this becomes apparent, reading into the symbols and embedded images and language of our carefully created culture becomes a much easier and even everyday task. At that point it may become a bit overwhelming, but don't let it be. It's been there all the time, we just didn't see it. The Illuminati is actually a rather flimsy label considering all we know about the workings of these dark occult-driven psychopaths. Their derivation is not as important as their current effects on humanity, but understanding their roots gives light to their intentions. That being said, here's a quote on their roots, tying them into ISIS worship and obeisance. Popular history texts and encyclopedias generally paint the Illuminati as having its origins in 1776 Bavaria. However, the origins go back much further. The Illuminati are tied directly through Masonry to the Sun and ISIS cults of ancient Egypt. Killing was a mystical experience to this branch of the mystery schools. They not only maintained their control by murder and threats of murder, they believed that the assassin could acquire the gnosis, or soul energy from the victim. This is the theory behind the human and animal sacrifices of Satanists throughout history and the ritual child abuse, etc. Satanists believe that sacrifices release more of it than anything else. Such are the dark and sordid machinations of the deluded souls who think their gnosis accumulations and illumination will give them some form of deity or immortality. That's just a quick glimpse. Research for yourself and learn much more. Massive casualties and deaths turn them on, as it does for those controlling them behind the scenes both here and interdimensionally. You'll find this energy vampirism throughout any esoteric studies on this subject, popularized by the Matrix movies where humans are considered energy batteries to be drained and utilized. That's pretty much what they're up to. By the way, as far as manipulating the Arab masses, the choice of the supposed leader's name of these high-financed and Western-trained pre-positioned rogue forces is Abu Bakr al-Baghdadi. This name couldn't be any more incendiary. The schism between Sunni and Shia Muslims lies in disputes over who would succeed Muhammad as leader of the faithful after his death in 632. The Shiites thought the Prophet's son-in-law and cousin should lead as caliph, particularly given his blood relationship to Muhammad. Their opponents, the Sunnis, thought Abu Bakr, one of Muhammad's first converts, should be their leader. The Shiites lost a series of wars for power in the early years of Islam and today are the clear minority in global Islam, making up about 15% of adherents. They are in the majority in Iraq and Iran. After Muhammad died in 632, an assembly of Muslims in Mecca elected Abu Bakr as the first Caliphate Rasul Allah, successor of the Prophet of God, or Caliph. Under him the collection of Muhammad's revelations was recorded in the Quran. Abu Bakr suppressed tribal uprisings and brought Central Arabia under Muslim control, after which he directed Arab armies into Iraq and Syria, initiating thus the Muslim conquests. And al-Baghdadi? Clearly an affirmation of their intent to take over the capital and subdue all of Iraq. All of this cleverly engineered, any way you look at it. The geopolitical situation is worsening at breakneck speed. It becomes increasingly apparent that time's extremely limited for doing anything majorly unnecessary in each of our lives. This massive new Middle East and Ukraine initiative, with their carefully sculpted excuse unfolding as we speak, has to blow soon. On top of that, the US is set to implode very soon with power station closures, hyperinflation, governmental crackdowns and the like. They're also clearly planning for massive unrest. Well, of course they are, they're causing it. All this has to reach critical mass very soon. Once these kinds of things blow, they each affect the other. Critical mass can be reached from so many different angles, not just local economic, immigration, food and energy issues, but now this recent offensive in Iraq by this marauding band of murderers. Should these inspired Western powers go through with their stepped-up plans of further intervention, I don't see Russia and Iran standing idly by. And if it blows there, the rest could go up like a tinderbox. This has been building for a while, but maybe that's why this new, and clearly world-startling false flag fabricated offensive is called ISIS. The military is famous for using occult names and symbols, and this is clearly more of the same. Are they honoring and thereby calling on their goddess as they pull the magic trigger? Something to seriously wonder about. It's clearly a time to connect the dots in any way we can and act accordingly. An unedited photo of President Obama making a speech on ISIS has gone viral and sparked Illuminati rumors. Since his first inauguration in 2008, people have made links between the president and the secret society bent on a new world order. Obama addressed the nation Wednesday from the Cross Hall of the White House about his plans for military action against the Islamic State, the militant group also known as ISIS. In a photo taken during his speech, a set of devil horns can be seen on top of Obama's head, due to the design of a curtain behind him. People on social media were quick to make a connection between Obama and Illuminati based on the picture. Let's not forget about Albert Pike's blueprint for 3 world wars. Albert Pike, a 33rd-degree Freemason, in 1871 envisioned 3 world wars to be followed by an unparalleled economic disaster. Pike's plans have come to fruition, shockingly on target as the first 2 world wars came to pass just like Pike envisioned, and the 3rd World War is right around the corner. Pike's vision for the 3rd World War goes as follows, and please keep in mind this was written to another Freemason back in 1871. The 3rd World War must be fomented by taking advantage of the differences caused by the agenda of the Illuminati between the political Zionists and the leaders of Islamic world. The war must be conducted in such a way that Islam, the Muslim Arabic world, and political Zionism, the State of Israel, mutually destroy each other. Meanwhile, the other nations, once more divided on this issue, will be constrained to fight to the point of complete physical, moral, spiritual and economical exhaustion. We shall unleash the nihilists and the atheists, and we shall provoke a formidable social cataclysm which in all its horror will show clearly to the nations the effect of absolute atheism, origin of savagery and of the most bloody turmoil. Then everywhere, the citizens, obliged to defend themselves against the world minority of revolutionaries, will exterminate those destroyers of civilization, and the multitude, disillusioned with Christianity, whose deistic spirits will from that moment be without compass or direction, anxious for an ideal, but without knowing where to render its adoration, will receive the true light through the universal manifestation of the pure doctrine of Lucifer, brought finally out in the public view. This manifestation will result from the general reactionary movement which will follow the destruction of Christianity and atheism, both conquered and exterminated at the same time. Anyone who has read the Bible knows the beginning to the end, and Albert Pike and the Illuminati's plan will eventually fail, and Satan and his followers will lose. Christianity will never die no matter how hard they try. If you have not accepted Jesus Christ as your personal Savior, then there is no better time than now, as we are slowly but surely reaching the end, and it's the only true way of escaping the New World Order. Thank you for taking the time to watch this video. Please subscribe to the channel, and like us, and follow us on Facebook and Twitter. We need all the support we can get. Remember, Jesus saves. God bless.